Thank you. So my name is Alex, and I love maps. I work as an engineer in the company called BCD Travel. We do corporate travel management, and my team works on a tool to book hotels. This talk is inspired by my work, even the order how I would show you things, it's how I found them myself. So I'll tell you about 3 instruments today, about Vykaliuk, Mapbox.gl, and KeplerGL. My goal today is to introduce you those tools, show a few visualization techniques, and give you something that you can use right away. Now, what you see here is a point, but it doesn't give you a lot of information. It's just some numbers. Even if I put it in a more familiar format, it's still not informative enough. That's where comes Vykaliuk. Vykaliuk is a library that is effectively a wrapper around Leaflet.js library that is used to create maps. So we'll start with a map, and it will be centered around the point with some zoom. Now, you can see what this point represents. And a good thing about Vykaliuk is you get this web map that you can drag around, zoom out, or zoom in. But if I drag it, I lose my location. So here comes the marker. Adding it is as simple as centering a map, and we have a marker in location. By now you probably figured that the location is where we are right now. But I will add some more context for those of you who are not from here. I will draw a circle with a radius 500 meters, which is around 5 to 7 minutes walking. Next, I will add some data. The data is actually parkings in a format called GeoJSON, which is a JSON document that used to talk about geography. Now we have a bunch of these polygons, but they're still not informative enough. What can we do? So, first of all, we will change our tiles. So tiles is like a base map. It's what you draw on. And we will pick the one that is white and white and black. And we will use a style function to show our polygons. Basically, what we will do here is we will use color to distinguish different categories. So we will use purple for bicycles, yellow if there is some fee, red if the parking is restricted, and green if we don't have any of those restrictions. Now, you can see a map, and you can see a parking that we have around. So if you come by bike, there are plenty of options here. And the good thing about Vykaliuk is that you can just type save, and it saves your map as HTML that you can then distribute. So here is how it looks. And it's already contained all the data. So that's the first thing that I wanted to show you. Now you know where to park tomorrow, or if you come for the sprints. Now, next thing is Mapbox.gl. Mapbox.gl is quite different from Vykaliuk because of what it uses. So Vykaliuk is about tiles and about raster maps. The difference is, so tiles is when you split the map by rectangular parts, and then you download the picture of it from the server. And Mapbox uses WebGL to draw the maps on your computer. So what it gives you a lot of possibilities. So for example, you can make rivers purple or omit some of the data that you don't need. You control your environment fully. So we will read the CSV file. The data for that is from python.org/events. And I will show you the events that already happened in 2018 or will happen and are on this calendar. Now we will use this tool from Mapbox.gl library called df to GeoJSON. You might have guessed that it will transform our data frame. Oh snap. So the errors are not very informative, but that was a setup. You can actually not transform something without a geometry to GeoJSON, so you need to clean your data and remove all the features that doesn't have latitude or longitude. Now we will have our GeoJSON, and here's how it looks. You have two most important types of GeoJSON documents. It's a feature and feature collection. So feature is basically some geometry and properties mapped to it. And a feature collection is an array of features. We also use some defaults for our map. I will show you a few of them, and they will all use this data that we have in GeoJSON and centered around one point. So we will start with simple circle visualization with a radius of 4 pixels. And you can see all those events, but even though we have like these pop-ups, it's not informative enough. So we will use our first tool that I already told you about, color, and we will color them based on whether it's a main event like a conference we're today, or a user group like, for example, meetup that was yesterday evening. So next I will show you how to deal when you have a lot of points. The first thing that we will use is a heat map. Right now we're creating a color stops. Basically we say that for this amount of points we will paint it in this color, and we will give it all to the heat map visualization. And you can see all of those events, and you can see some clusters, for example, here in Europe or in South America. Another great tool to deal with a lot of points is clusters. So heat map is more about the trends. You can see that there are many events here or there. The clusters are used to not clutter the map with a lot of points, but you still can zoom in and see the points one by one. So now to make this map useful for you, we will filter out the events that were in the past, and we will create color stops that will go from yellow to red based on days that are left to the event. And we will show a new visualization. But this time we will not only use color for showing the data, but also radius. So here you can see a map where it is colored based on the time left for the event, and the radius corresponds to user group or main event. So here is some user group that is happening soon, and some conferences. So if we're right here in Karlsruhe, the closest you can go to is either PyParis in 20 days, or GeoPython, which is in 240 days, so you even have a chance to submit your talk there. So we answered 2 questions: where do you park and which conference to go to next. Let's move to our next question, and it will be live demo. So here is a tool called KeplerGL, and it is more interactive and requires less programming skills. So we will add a file of the CSV file with the restaurants around this area. The data is coming from OpenStreetMaps. I can show you how it looks. So there are some coordinates, and type of the place, name, and so on. So right away you can see all the points on the map. Now we can pick a color based on some property to be amenity, which is basically a type of event. And because our data is categorical, we will pick colors that are not like one another. But this is not that useful for you. It's just a lot of restaurants on a map. How can we make it better? We will use another type of visualization called hexbin. Now, I will tinker with it a bit. And we will pick some gradual lights. And now you see the blocks of the city where we have more restaurants or cafes than in others. So we are somewhere here, and if I were you and was looking for a place to eat, I would go somewhere in this area, because you'll definitely find something. And because KeplerGL is based on Mapbox.gl, here comes all those possibilities that I told you. We draw this map in the browser so we can hide something. For example, roads, if you don't need them. Or the labels of the cities. And it gets redrawn immediately. So I didn't have to show you this slide, and that's great. So now we solved 3 questions, and I told you about a bit about maps, and it's time to make some conclusions, or what to choose when. So we have a volume. Volume has a lot of features. It has plugins, and it is really good supported, and it relies on Leaflet.js, which is like a standard in mapping industry to do web maps, because you can change the tiles. You're not dependent on, for example, Google or someone else to have your maps. Next, we have Mapbox.gl Jupyter. So it's more of a visualization tool than a mapping tool. And if you have the visualization that will fit in it, I recommend to use it. And another great thing is that it uses WebGL to draw the maps. So you can create an account in Mapbox and use their Mapbox Studio and make whatever you want with that map. Make rivers purple. I don't know. Whatever you need. And there is also Kepler. I really like Kepler for the one simple reason. I can show someone this tool, give them this data, and then this person can explore the data by him or herself. So you don't need any programming knowledge. You just need a file with coordinates, basically. And it's also useful to explore even by myself. So thank you. If you want to talk more about maps, come and find me. This has been Alex Vykaliuk. See you on GeoPython.
Are there any questions?
Thank you very much for this interesting talk. I was wondering about, have you any experience with dynamic data? So, for example, points moving in time, and what would you use in this occasion?
I guess it depends on how many points you have. You can use basically any except Kepler, because Kepler is like a static tool, but you can use both the Mapbox.gl and volume. And when you do some visualizations that is not trivial, I recommend to switch to JavaScript, actually.
Yeah, so this is kind of a meta question. What kind of software did you use to make this kind of interactive presentation?
It's a Jupyter.
Oh, okay.
I can show you. So here's all my slides. And you open this. Oh, I actually don't remember where it is. It's a cell toolbar that's called Slideshow. And then you can click download as slides. That's all. So everything you've seen is actually Jupyter cells.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for the talk. How do you deal with many data points? Because, for example, when you use Bokeh with many data points and you don't have a data shader, then you struggle with performance to display many data points. Are there similar problems when using Folium or the second tool?
So it depends on your kind of visualization. Sometimes you can use clustering, as I showed you, because when you have a lot of points, you just cluster them, and then the redraw is simple because you have much less those clusters than the initial points. Or you can also actually no, that's all. I don't have anything more.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, then thanks, Alex, for your talk.